Yeah, thanks, Lucy. Well batted last night, Aaron. Can you just talk us through the innings, mate? Your reaction to that first ball when it wrapped you on the pads, and was there any moment where you where it all clicked and you finally felt I'm on?
Oh, it was just nice to get a few runs. Obviously, it's been a little while. I think at the start of the innings, they're always, I suppose, you're always a little bit nervous, a little bit tentative. And yeah, when it hit me on the pad, it was just one of those things. It was a 50-50 call that happens. But once I got into my innings, I felt as though I was moving a lot better. My feet were moving. My intent was there. And yeah, it was nice to get a few out of the middle.
You'd obviously been backed by the selectors and your teammates and everything. We saw in that test doco what you went through ahead of the 2019 World Cup. Was it similar this time in how you felt, the personal anguish you felt?
Oh, not really. I was just short of runs, mate. It's never easiest when you're trying to lead the side and you're not performing as well as you would like personally. So, but you always put the team first. And I suppose I felt as though my captaincy's been pretty good throughout this period as well, and right throughout the Big Bash and everything. So I was obviously would have loved to have got some more runs, but I was never doubting that I would never get runs again. It was one of those things that T20 can be a brutal game at the best of times. So I think just having the ability to take a step back and sort of reassess my own game and I suppose go out there with a clear mind, as clear as you can. It was great to have the support of the selectors.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Dave. Andrew.
Thanks, Lucy. Hi, Aaron. You mentioned that LBW 50-50 call. You had a few dismissals during the BBL that were probably a touch unfortunate, run out backing up and stuff like that. Are you the sort of player who goes, it's time one of those 50-50s sort of went my way?
No, I don't think so, mate. It's one of those games where sometimes the better intent you have, the luckier you get sometimes. And it swings and roundabouts in all professional sport, particularly our game. As a batter, it can be bloody tough at times. So just having the confidence, I think, to keep backing my instinct and keep backing my game was the most important thing. I know that I've done it before. I'm not a bad player, so you can brush it up any way you want. But I think getting back to the basics was the most important for me.
And if I could just ask a slightly wider picture one, David Warner spoke yesterday and about pinpointing that 2023 50-over World Cup. I know it's something you've spoken about before. Does that remain your sort of end goal? David said he saw it as being a point for a few of this squad that it might be their swan song.
Oh yeah, that I won't go past that. I can tell you that much. But it's about 2 T20 World Cups coming up, 2 really important games in this series, a West Indies series, and then a lead up to the India T20 World Cup. So there's a lot of cricket, and you can't afford to look too far ahead in this game. I think that's one mistake that if you make that, you forget what's happening in front of you, and you can tend to either miss some opportunities or not see exactly what is happening right here. So yeah, while that's a distant goal, it's not the be-all and end-all. I think it's just about making sure that I'm leading the side as well as I can. We're working as a group. We're continuing to improve. On this trip, we've got quite a few young guys who haven't played a huge amount of cricket for Australia, and we've got some guys who are coming off the back of not a huge amount of cricket through injuries, and it's just important that we take everyone on a really good journey.
Thanks, Aaron.
Cheers.
Thanks, Andrew. We'll go to Braden.
Morning, Finchy. You mentioned the support of the selectors. Did George Bailey's public throwing, getting behind you, did that help you at all? Did it take any weight off your shoulders just to know that you had that public support?
Oh, maybe a little bit subconsciously. I think it's always nice to have the support of the selectors and the coach. So that was nice. I think being through this in the past where you're a little bit shorter runs, it's always nice to just get that reassurance. Like I said, I always felt that my captaincy and my leadership's been pretty good around the group. So, but it can be a little bit tougher at times when you're not doing your own job all that well. So now for me, it's just about building on that. Looking forward to tomorrow. Freshen up today. Look forward to tomorrow and try and go 2-2.
You mentioned, it just takes a while to get your feet moving, and you finally did. Can that flow straight into the next game, or not really? You need to get set depending on conditions and things like that.
Oh, every game's obviously a new event, a new challenge, but I can probably give you a little bit more confidence that your process is working. I was still a little bit tentative in them first couple of balls, sort of going into almost looking to defend and survival mode as opposed to being aggressive when I'm playing my best. So it's just one of those things, mate, that some days it clicks from ball one. Sometimes you need to just work through that for 4 or 5 balls, and some days it takes a little bit longer. So you don't take it for granted, and you never walk out to bat thinking that you're still in. It's going to be the same surface, a drop in wicket. We're playing all 3 games on the 1 wicket. It's not hugely uncommon for me personally doing that at Marvel Stadium over the last 10 years. So I wouldn't expect the wicket to change, but obviously Bolton Southey with the brand new ball, they're a danger to anyone. So just got to be nice and sharp to start.
Thanks, mate. Well done.
Thanks, Braden. Sorry, Ben, I missed you. Do you want to jump in?
Yeah, thanks. Aaron, you, in that opening comment, you said that you stepped back and you reassessed your game a bit during that run of outs. Roy and HG's famous phrase, run of outs. So what did you learn when you stepped back?
When you look at your game overall, I don't look too much technically at the start. I think it's more of a mental thing. So how am I approaching the innings? Am I watching the ball as hard as I possibly can? And sometimes when you're searching for a score, you forget the absolute basics. So you always get a bit fixated on the end result and not what's right in front of you at the time. So I think at times it was a little bit of wanting desperately to get some runs that forget to watch the ball. And as soon as you don't put, like 1% can be enough in this game to have you off and you're out, and all of a sudden your run continues. So it's just about watching the ball 100%, trusting that my process for the last 10 years has been pretty solid, and it's given me a great foundation to excuse me, to bounce back from. So first my mental approach, and then back to the absolute basics. Like you tinker with a few technical things here and there, but that's never that's I think every player does that slightly. I don't think that has a huge amount of impact on your first 10 balls. So that's all it was for me.
And just on selection, Riley Meredith had such an incredible impact on the match last night, kept it really tight at the back end. That must be really pleasing. Yeah,
he was brilliant on his debut. He bowled fast. He bowled a great length, and he had a real impact in that power play when Guptill started to get going. He managed to tie him down, and even for 3 or 4 balls, that can be a big momentum shift in T20 cricket. And when he had come back through them middle overs and had a great impact, he was really impressive, and everyone was really pumped for him to get his first opportunity for Australia.
So there's 2 games to go, and the series is live. At the start of the tour, you said you'd like to have a look at some different people in different positions. It's probably fair to say that hasn't really happened so far. Felipe has been great, and Meredith's now come in. What's the plan for the last couple of games?
Number one is to try and win tomorrow and get it to 2-2 and then see how we go on Sunday and reassess there. It mightn't look like there's been a whole lot of shifting and changing around of the side, but there has been guys playing really different roles to what they've usually done. We've seen Ashton Agar bowling a lot more overs in the power play. Zampa's bowling more overs in the power play than he has done for Australia in the past. Mitch Marsh has batted 4 and then he's batted 6. So there's been a little bit of shuffling around and a little bit of information grabbing, but it mightn't look like that from the outside, but there's definitely some great information that we've gathered so far.
Thanks for that.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, Ben. Sam.
Thanks.
Sorry,
just
mate.
Quickly, just the straight hitting last year.
Sorry, mate. Can you start that again?
Was that better? Yeah, apologies. I'm just wondering, the straight hitting, it looked like you scored a lot of your runs, particularly early straight last night. Was that a set game plan to try and keep pack over the bowler to try and get some of the flow back?
I think when I'm playing at my best, I'm hitting down the ground quite a bit. I'm presenting the full face, and I think even if you go back to that first ball I faced, I fell across a little bit and looked to whip it off the outside of leg stump. So it's just one of those things, mate. When I'm accessing down the ground, it means that my weight's in a pretty good spot. It means that I'm generally getting my weight back down the ground through the ball. So that gives me the best opportunity to present the full face.
And obviously, it looks like you handled the situation the pressure over there really well. But Amy bravely called out some abuse that she got back home. I mean, did it start to impact people around you? And if so, how does that affect you?
Oh, that didn't affect me because I didn't read it. The first thing I actually saw about it was when someone sent me the article. So, it's never ideal when your family or your partner or that is getting abused for how you're performing. That's just not what it should be. I'm fine to cop criticism about my game. That's part of the job. But when it turns into just abuse to your family, that's a bit past the line. So, not ideal, but I thought she handled herself very well.
And just following on from the previous question, so obviously with Ashton Turner going home, I think there's 5 guys we haven't seen. Given that the conditions are the same, do you think we will see any of those 5? And if so, who do you think might be considered for the next 2?
We'll look at all options, mate. Honestly, each game we go back and review it and then look to our planning, how we're going to use our bowlers, how the batting structure is going to work in certain situations. So we'll do that this afternoon. We'll sit down with the coach, Andrew McDonald, and George Bailey, Matty Wade and myself and come up with a side for tomorrow.
Will Josh Phillippe bat out the series in the top order, or do you want to have a look at him somewhere else?
It's a really good question. We'll have to wait and see.
Sounds like number 6, maybe?
I don't think so, but you never know.
Okay, thanks so much. Good luck tomorrow.
Cheers.
Thanks, Sam. George.
Hey, Aaron. Just wondering, with the level changes and everything that have happened here in New Zealand, obviously playing these last 3 games in Wellington, getting a win under your belt there last night, it must feel nice to actually have a bit of a familiar environment to play in for the next 2 games.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a beautiful ground. It's the first time that I've been there, and I can imagine what it'd be like when it's full and the crowd's pumping up. Nice wicket, beautiful outfield. I think obviously the restrictions are out of our hands. We're just going with the government advice. So, but windy city, geez, I can tell you, when you're under a high ball out there, we practiced for a couple of hours the day before down at the basin, and you couldn't quite replicate what it's like in the cake tin. It feels as though everywhere you're standing, the wind's hitting you in the face, but then the ball never gets to you at certain times. So I think we saw there would have been at least half a dozen balls drop short of fielders who thought it was comfortably tracking to them. So it'll take a bit of getting used to. I'm not sure that you can ever replicate that kind of wind in the field, but it's a beautiful place to play cricket.
Yeah, they don't call it windy Wellington for nothing, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I guess with that, I mean, last night a pretty crucial win for you guys, wasn't it? And I guess, did you guys kind of feel you had not so much the performance edge over the Cats, but perhaps a bit of a mental edge too, heading into these next 2 games? It must feel nice to have that under your belt.
Oh, it's nice to go in with the series still alive, no doubt. I think what's been really impressive is we had a really poor game 1. Besides the first 6 overs with the ball, I thought we were pretty average outside of that. Game 2, we had some really good stuff. We're on the back of a Guptill hiding. He does that to the best players in the world at times when he's having a day out. And then nearly won that game with a brilliant performance at the back end with the ball, and then Stoinis and Sam's partnership. And then we improved and were pretty good throughout the game yesterday. It'd be nice to brush up on a couple of spots, but all in all, 3 games that we've improved in each one, which is a really pleasing sign.
I guess, like, looking to the Australia Diamonds, who are also here in Christchurch at the moment, the whole quarantine thing, I think it can perhaps be a little bit overlooked. Perhaps the fact that you're and stuck inside for a couple of weeks before getting out and playing. Did it kind of? I don't want you to think about whether that was a part to play in the first game or anything like that, or but does that kind of have a part to play in getting kind of just back into a rhythm of playing cricket and whatnot? Even looking at the Diamonds last night, getting a win after losing the first game, I'm just wondering, do you think managed isolation maybe has a part to play in just hindering you getting back into a rhythm?
Yeah, it's a good question, mate. I think you just can't quite replicate game intensity, no matter how well you train. It's just, you don't get the same pressure, the same nerves when you're walking out to bat or you're standing at the top of your mark. So to have 2 weeks completely off is it's just hard to get that intensity right up. You can try your best, and I think training for think we had 12 days of training in the lead up. Maybe we're just getting a little bit flat towards the end, but we had plenty of optional days in there. But it's definitely tough, no doubt, coming out of it and the day after playing for your country. But it's a part of the world at the moment. We did it on the back of the IPL, and we come out and played really well against India in the one-day series. And yeah, we just weren't at our best in the first game, and that's going to keep happening. So I think we've got to get used to it and try and find ways to adapt and get better.
Thanks, mate. All the best.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, George. We'll go last two guys. We'll start with you, Guy.
Cool. I'll just be quick. I've just got one. Congrats on last night, Aaron. Just with Mitchell Santner not playing, does that, without him in the Black Cap side, does it make it an easier prospect for you guys, particularly, I suppose, when you talk about the wind and his variations and things like that in T20 cricket?
He's a great T20 player. He's a brilliant international cricketer. So he's someone who helps structure up their side really well with pretty much 4 guaranteed overs and then some power at number 7. So he's a really important player for New Zealand. But you never think that taking one guy out will change the way that they play. They still played a really attacking brand of cricket throughout the middle overs with the ball and then with the bat the whole way through. So he's a fantastic cricketer and someone who's improving all the time. But yeah, that real swing player, and we've got a similar one in Ashton Agar, who had an unbelievable game last night. They just help balance out the side because they're jets in the field. They're very, very good with the ball, and they contribute more often than not with the bat as well, with a high strike rate. So yeah, it's a really important role, and yeah, hope Mitch is going okay and feeling better.
Good man, appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thanks, Guy. And Chris.
G'day, Aaron. Bit of a random question from me, mate. Do you think playing in front of 35,000 golden seats at Wellington Stadium somehow gave you like a home advantage?
Oh, I wouldn't say it was a home advantage. What was really evident is that the Kiwis uniform wasn't too far off the colour of the seats. That really sort of off gold colour. It was hard to spot the fielders in the crowd on the field at times. But yeah, it wasn't ideal. It never is when you're not playing in front of a crowd. But it's like I said before, I can imagine it'd be absolutely rocking when there's a crowd in there and the ball's flying around. It'd be a great place to play in front of a big crowd. So hopefully either tomorrow or Sunday there can be some people through the gates.
Awesome, mate. Appreciate it.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Cheers.